It's recording.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining the meeting today. Does everybody have their meeting agenda up and in front of them so we can kind of go through everything efficiently?
I've got it.
All right. So we'll get right into the segue with a personal and business best, and I will kick it off. Personal best, getting ready to load up the family dog and RV and head to Sebastian Inlet State Park for the weekend, which is great. And a business best, we just got unofficial confirmation that we won a very good government contract that we had been chasing. So very happy about that. Kim, you're up.
Personal best, we just got contacted by our daughter, so we're going to get a chance to see her in December in New York. So we didn't think we were going to see her for Christmas. And then business best, my husband just finished out his first season with the Miami Marlins and is very excited about the upcoming season.
Awesome. Allison, you're next.
Oh, okay. Personal best has to be my 3 boys for sure. And business best is just being able to turn over funds allocated to Higher Foundation and just what we've been able to do through that. So those would be my 2.
All right. Joe, are you on yet? All right. Sanj.
Personal best is driving around and watching the surf roll in on the Pacific Ocean right now. And as the sun rises over it, which is actually really, really cool. And business best is having a very good, successful 4 days in Tulsa with my clients out there and helping a lot of people solve their problems.
Great. Dima.
Personal best is this is the first time ever that my kids have had the same Thanksgiving break schedule, so we'll actually get to leave and I'm not having to make Thanksgiving dinner. And then 4 kids in all these different schools, it's hard to align schedules. And then the business best is that yesterday my organization awarded $20,000 to the Tampa Bay local community. The winning recipient was Project Prosper, which is an organization that helps assist new immigrants in the community. They got $10,000. $1,000 went to Girl Scouts. Another $1,000 went to an organization called the International Association Eating Disorder Professionals. They go out and teach other clinicians and doctors and therapists about how to recognize signs for eating disorders. And then another one is an organization called My Sister's Helper, which is like a small little Muslim women's shelter that helps anybody from the community have housing. So that was yesterday.
Great.
Okay. Awesome. All right, Sherry, you're not excluded. You're next up. Oh, wait, I got you in the wrong time.
That's why you don't see me.
I guess that mine are both business because I'm been busy filling out one of those grant applications that Jesse's taking phone calls on it. I'm not going to call him, but I'm going to push the button where we're actually applying for the money to do the Middleton High School Summit based on what came out of Connect and Propel. So we're asking the Community Foundation to fund it. I think it's a long shot because we're just brand new and just a lot of the questions that we don't have a lot of the history there, but I'm going to push the button before the end of the day. And on the other hand, by other not-for-profit, I'm working on Reef Renewal. I've been working on the 501c3 application all week long, and I have a draft on my desk that I'm going to review one more time over the weekend, and I'm going to mail it on Monday. So those that know me know that I am not a fill-in-the-forms kind of guy, but I have been patient, and I've hung in there, and I just keep plugging.
It takes a while in that 501c3.
Yeah,
so.
Well, it's my second one in a month. I did one for Connect and Propel recently as well, so this one was actually easier, but looking at these boxes and checking it and going to pull records and all that kind of stuff is, anyway, not my cup of tea, but I'm close to being done with both.
Awesome.
Great.
All right, Sherry, you ready now?
And I'm hiding in the background on this call because I'm not really part of this work group. But yeah, the greatest thing for me is that a lot of the work groups have taken off, and like you guys have organized and gotten things rolling. And so I've been able to learn from that and had a lot of positive feedback. So I'm super excited by that. And the business great thing for me, I guess that's also business, but is that David Cooperrider called and said that he is going to come up for the racial healing work group and be part of that meeting. And so I think that's going to be really great for us to be able to have him as part of some of our work groups moving forward. So I'm super excited by all of those things.
Great.
By the way, Sherry, what was Demetrius' last name yesterday? I talked to him. He's going to go to that work group session on Monday. Thomas?
I don't know, but I can look that up for you.
Anyway, so he, there was someone's phone rang when you were saying it, but it's the RIDE work group, which is the racial healing and equity group. So, and David's going to drive up from Longboat Key to attend it on Monday, which is great. So.
Awesome.
That's the RIDE group?
Yes, yes.
And it's Monday, December 2nd.
So when we have our next meeting, the next section will be the dashboard review. And during this section, we will simply report if we feel like we are on track, off track, or as we get into these groups, it will be done. But since the dashboard review is empty today, it's actually going to go down into the IDS section, where we will identify, discuss, and work on solving and setting some of the items for our dashboard review. The next section for the Connect and Propel Resource Hub is the group goals review. And currently, what I have in here for group goals for the next 90 days is number 1, identify additional stakeholders to, and then underneath it, connect, fund, advance, measure, and celebrate. So currently, those items would all be off track because we're just getting those set up. The second item underneath there would be, and this was in the email that I had sent out for us today, to go over the group aspiration statements.
Okay,
And
saw that.
third item is we go through the group aspiration statements, and this is probably where some of our group discussion will come in, is coming up with what we feel are the 2 to 3 ideas where we can get kind of that quick hit, something that seems like either part of it or most of it, or maybe even the entire the entire thing can be completed. So as we go through that down in our IDS section, that will help us out tremendously. So once those are all set, and again, this will all start to make more sense on our next call, is we'll go into the individual goals that we have. And so as we're going through the call today and we start talking about these ideas, please start thinking about and sharing what you think your goals should be to help us hit the group goals. So the next time that I send this out, we'll have this filled out by individual with a couple of goals that you have that will help us hit the 3 group goals that we just talked about. And then after that, the next section that we would go over each week is the to-do list. So I believe, did we decide, are we going to do a call every other week?
We didn't really make a decision on that because I went back and looked. We said, let's get to the first meeting and then determine how much we need to communicate. I would think we need to probably communicate if we're going to learn information about these groups and meet, that I would agree with you, maybe every other week.
Anybody else have any comments on that?
No, I think that sounds good.
All right. So Sherry, could we make this time a recurring event?
Absolutely. I'll set that up for you.
Okay. So, and and then as we get into it and say the time and date we need to switch around or whatever, we'll work on that as well. But for now, let's try and at least know that the next one that we have will be 2 Fridays from now. And as we're going through and getting down to some of the to-dos, that'll be a good time to be able to, as we're going through it, think about what you can do in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, so you're saying December the 6th would be the next one at 10:30?
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So then after the to-do list each week where we simply, sorry about that, go through and let us know if things are done or not done, then we take what is off track, not done, things that have come up during the week that we need to put down and discuss. So the items that we have to discuss are the items that I had sent out today, and they coincide with our aspiration statement and the statement that we had stating that we would have the call on the 22nd to identify additional stakeholders to connect, fund, advance, measure, and celebrate. So I guess really just to kind of open it up, who has some ideas or what have been some of the things that everybody's been thinking about now that we've had a little time away from the summit to that you've been thinking about?
So I'd like to go ahead and I wrote down 3 items I had on the day of the summit. The last day I had completed an email. I checked with most individual members, but I held off sending the email out because I have some individuals who've approached me and said, I want to be part of this. I want to be involved in this, what you're doing. They didn't necessarily want to be involved in our initiative group, but they wanted to see what was going on and then for me to pass information to them. So before I sent out the email, that was one of my questions is if I have someone that comes to me and says, oh, this is really cool, how do I get involved? Where do I send them? Where do I connect them to?
Yeah, and Mike and Sherry, I know Mike and I had talked about this just the other day as far as people want to get involved. What should kind of the SOP be for saying, great, take a look at the aspiration statement, see what you're interested in. And then Mike and Sherry, like, how do you think we should, what's kind of the SOP to get them involved?
I think you could determine what you want that to be. Like each individual group will do it. One of the things that I'm going to ask groups is we do have a meetup account. So for some of the groups that are having like these meetings, like the RIDE meeting, I'll ask, do you want us to post that? Do you want us to, actively recruit people? And when we do, I'm just going to ask who you want us to direct them to. And then whatever you want the onboarding to be for your group, you can decide. So I think individually, each group, because the groups will vary greatly from what it takes to onboard onto the group. Right, like the group I'm thinking of right now, the convention center kind of recycling group, it would be really easy just to kind of onboard into wherever they're at and then move forward. Whereas your group, they might need to read some information or look at some past information. So whatever that onboarding process is, then we could also post that out there for you.
So
Okay.
Sherry, one of the things that is on my list for you, and it's part of the, nobody on this group has seen the little sizzle video that we did. They did a nice video that we're going to post, but the request was a call to action. I would love to have Leah create a link for us on the website that people can go to it and actually see a summary of the work groups and the aspiration statements on it. Go look at it, right? And then the next step is, because when we send them to the website in the video, I'd like to be a link there So if we could kind of, this is going to come up time and time again, where is the first place to go to gather a summary of data that people can look at to make a decision?
So what I hear, Britt, is that's kind of what our goal is. Is that kind of what we're aiming for?
Yes. So, you know, to have that button that they can, I understand that each group's onboarding process might be a little different. I think for us to have a standardized procedure, though, for somebody says they're interested, that we say, hey, here's the link. When you go to that link and click on it, you can see the different groups and be able to figure out what you want to be involved in. And then you can click on that call to action button that will say, you know, join this group or join a group now. And then they can click on that button. They can go in, enter in their information and choose one of the groups. And then when that's done on the back end, then the group can reach out to that individual, update them on what they're doing and where they're headed, and then work on how the onboarding into that group will be.
So if we go through the 27, let me just kind of see if I'm on there, if I'm listening to you. If we go through the 27 or the 30, if we go through the 30 groups and we look at their aspiration statements and we try to get like a quick hit, we can develop that as a format for them to go and get like a quick overview. Oh, okay, I'm interested to learn more about this group, and then they can link on to that to take them to that group. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes. Yeah. So, because right now, if people say I'm interested, you know, what is that exact call to action that we're going to give them? Because I've already had people who've seen the video and said, you know, great. Like before the summit, it was easy to say, here's the link to the website. You need to go on, you need to fill out the interview, and then get to the meeting. You know, now the event has been done, the groups have been set up. So we need that, you know, kind of call to action button and a destination place where we can send them, because I don't think we want to have to set up a new, you know, ComNexus account for everybody who wants to go in and simply take a look at what we're doing.
So one thing I could do for that is I could set up a form, much like we did for the interview when we did it online, that would have all of that information. And then when they clicked on it, then that would go to each of the groups. And then Tom can actually take that data and incorporate it. So we could do that through the website in that same way.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking at page here. It was a get involved tab. So we could just kind of take what we used to say, here's the options here. We still have a donate button. We still have a volunteer button, but to be able to redo that page for the post-summit activities, and when you click on it, you're going to go to different work groups. You can go to ComNexus. You can request a ComNexus login. However, Tom's doing that as a guest. I mean, just having a page there of instructions, you're right, because what I want to be able to say, go to connectandpropeltampabay.org/get involved.
Right. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. That way they have a link and they can figure out where they want to be involved.
And we can market that through social media.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. Which that comes down to the next section that we have here. So we already, through discussing this, have come up with a to-do in regards to the website, and really, you know, I guess Mike and Sherry kind of rebranding what we used pre-summit to be the get involved for the post-summit. Correct?
Yep. It's
Great.
going to take a little work here. It's just a matter of the timing on designing that page and getting it to Leah. We're also doing all of that. You know, she's been a volunteer to date, and we can't expect her to be free labor forever. So we have some logistical things to go do here, but I think we can kind of design that. Again, I want to put it in the video, even if it doesn't exist yet. I want to create the place for it. So by the time we start using the video, that again, the call to action is go to this link click
Right.
on it, and then that is the information page for post-summit activity.
Okay.
Great.
I have two more. Or you want me to stop and wait for?
Nope, go ahead.
All right. So the second item is, this came in the mail yesterday. And I know one of the groups was talking about the convention center, but I have not gotten one of these in a while. Are you guys familiar with this magazine at all?
Yeah.
What is it called? Tampa?
It's called Tampa, and it's 2020 Tampa Bay Event Planning Guide. And it's through tampamagazines.com. And they actually had an article in here about the convention center. We did have an initiative group that was dealing specifically with the convention center and
And the
moving
garage.
forward. Is that correct? Do we have one of our initiative groups working
is
specific?
Work group 19, that is correct.
Group 19, okay. So when I come across things like this, my thought is to, again, we have information that comes across. We should be able to contact a group and say, hey, look, there's something in here regarding specifically, again, connecting media with a group, or connecting a group to, like, I could contact Tampa, or they, say, hey, do you want to contact them and include yourselves in this magazine? So that was one of the other things I just wanted to point out, is that when we do, like tonight, I'm going to Cristo Rey, and we had a group there of students at the summit. So I want to be able to connect and see, how many of the students that are there, or the people that are there, how many of them attended the summit, and again, do that verbal connection, I guess.
So interesting, the group at Cristo Rey is working on the work group 19. So they would be the ones that are interested in that magazine.
All right, well then that's awesome, because I will bring that with me tonight then.
That would be great. And
Okay.
It's Ruby and Pat specifically that are on that work group.
Ruby and Pat, okay.
So we're already a little farther ahead than what we originally thought. And group 19 was certainly a group that I was identifying as one that we could get quick success and start to push that out to the community.
So, and I would say, Kim, is that Bill Casale is negotiating with Cristo Rey to do their own summit.
Oh, great, okay.
And we're looking at March right now.
Okay. All right, and then the last thing that I have, this gentleman, his name is Mario Nunez. He was originally on the declaration. I talked with him on several occasions during the summit, and he has a great passion for two things. The Tampa flag. He showed me the previous Tampa flag, and I don't know if any of you've seen it, but it's pretty bad. So sorry to all engineers, but it's pretty bad. And then also identifying, I guess he said that Los Angeles, they call themselves the Angelinos. And so he was hoping that he could make a presentation for a new flag and a Tampa name before the Super Bowl. So he's kind of branched off a little bit on his own. He reached out to me to see if, I could connect him with some people. So I have an email going out to several art groups that are involved at schools, high schools, to try to get them involved. And then I was going to connect the two of them. He is not specifically a number though, so I didn't know what you guys wanted to do with that.
So a little background, Mario was on group 5 and left because he didn't think the flag was getting the right attention. Group 5 is, I'd rather call it a vision group versus the Tampa Declaration of Interdependence. And so the point I've made to Mario, and I met Mario, I was on his TV show prior to the summit, was that until you have a vision, mission, and core values, you can't build a flag because the symbols don't mean anything. Anyway, so it's almost premature. He can go work on it again, kind of how he wants to. He wanted to leverage this to be able to go do it. He's asked me to come back on his show. He asked me last week to go. I said, I'm not ready. Part of this is this conversation we're having. How do you get involved? I said, so I'll come back when I'm ready to be able to give you the update, but also the next steps. So keep talking to him, Kim, but it's kind of like it's an outlier about what he wants to go do is, and you guys might decide that you form a new work group around it. I mean, you may recommend it. I think that part of what Cleveland did, they started with 25 and the next year they had 28. So you can actually grow the numbers if groups split up or actually get added. So.
Okay, well, I'll wait and see what kind of feedback I get from the schools, you know, if there's people involved. And then at that point, if there are, then I'll kind of play a conduit for that.
Okay.
I know Allison mentioned that she would have to go in. Allison, are you able to talk and share any ideas at this time, or did we miss that window?
I think she left. I don't see her. Oh, there. Hi, Joe.
Okay. All right, so Allison must be off. So Joe, are you on?
I see him, but I don't hear him.
Got it.
What about
Sanj? You are up next.
I think you guys have covered a lot of the areas that I might have had questions about. So, you know, I'm actually a little bit more useful when I'm on a video conference call than when I'm sitting in a car on a speakerphone. But everything so far sounds pretty good.
Great. Dima?
I just wanted to be able to, like I know you guys mentioned 2 specific things that are already taking place, but to kind of be realistic and say, what are the key, I don't have it, I don't know where I put my paper. I tried to find it and I couldn't see, but realistically, since we've last left the summit, which work groups have actually taken off and who's recording that? Because when I saw, okay, there's like about 3 that I think has like major potential, and I don't know if they've already started to begin to work. Does anybody know how the other groups are doing so far?
So, what were the 3 groups that you thought were something where we could make, you know, an impact quickly?
So definitely the Convention Center Recycling Initiative. That one, I thought that was good. And I had it written down and all of a sudden now I'm going blank. So I'm going to see if there's just one more place I'm going to look. But I just want to know what's taken place, that, like, who's, Sherry, is that essentially what you're doing? You're tracking the groups?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I'm just trying to reach out to the groups to see if they need any resources. And so I guess I'm asking them to put all of their information in ComNexus so that we could get the information from there. The one thing we just asked Tom for is to create a roll-up calendar so that as people put their calendar events in the calendar, that we'd be able to see all of them from the main view. And I think that might be a good way to see if people are meeting, because if we can get all of the meetings to show, then we'll know which work groups are. I need to send out an email this afternoon, and I was going to wait until after this call to do it because I want to just touch people and say hi, happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully everybody had a chance to at least think about when they're going to connect, if not connect. And I'm going to share the video of your meeting agenda that Britt and I recorded this week. The draft of the video that Mike's talking about, that Sizzler video, and tell them that we're still working on the call to action, kind of let them know the next steps. And then I think we need to tell them how we want them to communicate with us so that you guys have that information. And so that's what I wanted to ask you is, how do you want to receive that information, or how might it be the easiest for you to have a pulse of what's happening? Because all I want to know from the groups is, do you need any resources that we could help you with? How can I help you get the resources you need? Do you need help setting calls? Do you need ComNexus training? Do you need recruiting people? Whatever you need help with, I want to make sure that they have a place to go to get help. And so I'll throw that out to you. Like, what do you want to see that would help you effectively keep that engagement going?
I just want to know the reality of like which groups have dissolved and which groups are actually working. So I guess I know a friend of mine, one of my members, is on that education group, but I don't remember what the number was. I know that they have already met. I don't know where they are in their process, but again,
Is that
our
the
job,
create?
like this group, what I see is, go ahead.
My goal would be not to have any of the groups dissolve since we had energy around it. What I'm trying to do is see like who's already having forward momentum. And then for the groups that aren't, how can we kind of kindle that idea and get more people around that engaged in the idea? So an example would be group number 19 was the convention center group.
Well, actually, I think that's now 28. The Banana and Peels Tampa Convention Center Food Rescue Program.
Yes.
So, okay, that's number 28.
Okay, so 28, the Bananas and Peels, they changed the group focus to be just composting. So once the convention center doesn't use the food to compost it, which is a great component. But the initial group was really going to be talking about recycling at the convention center and looking at donating the food to the food insecure. So that's why I asked the Cristo Rey students when they were here, are you interested in joining this work group and working on either one of these two topics? And so Ruby and Pat were here and they were like, we are totally interested in that. We would love to work on this food insecure piece. So they've actually taken that up and run with it. So even though the work group didn't really like jump up out of the summit, I'm just trying to help keep some of those pieces moving by recruiting people who are interested in working on that to get it moving.
Okay.
Dima, could I address your question?
Sure.
So what I hear you saying possibly is, where can we assist those that are up or running? Where can we assist those that have stalled? I don't know if everybody has the list, but there was an email that came out that gave us a list of the work groups. Maybe we should, as our group, maybe we should break that list down and each member go and check out on ComNexus what that group is doing and make contact. Would that go along what we're talking about, Brett, at the beginning?
It would. I think splitting up the list is great. What are the few questions that we would like answered by each, and I think that some of the basic ones would be have you or when, right, is your meeting, what came out of it, and when is your next meeting. And then I think for us, Sherry was going to be sending the meeting form out as we're going to make a folder for our completed meeting agendas. And it will be great if the other groups can do that too, because then anybody can go in at any time and by using that form, get that spotlight update on where they're at. So kind of my thought today was by identifying a couple of the groups and reaching out to them that we will use those 2 to 3 groups to help also really kind of refine our process of how we're going to, help those groups connect, fund, advance, measure, and celebrate.
Okay, so as a group, we want to just identify 2 or 3 groups
that we feel like we can make kind of that help them make that immediate impact, so that we can start to, the hardest part about pushing a giant boulder, uphill is getting it going. So, what are those groups that we can help with that so that we can start getting a couple successes out there, let the other groups, let the community know about it. Because, like if we look at number 1, right, make Tampa into the healthiest city, that's a long-term project, probably not one, right away to be able to, get that quick hit. But maybe if, we took a section of that, there might be something that we could do. So
So I would like to join your work group then, because I think I can help, because I'll be the contact that people reach out to you for resources, and then I can help funnel that information through, because I can just keep my ongoing log in ComNexus, and then you'll have access to it.
Okay.
The other thing I'm hearing you guys saying, you are acting in the capacity of the post-summit steering committee in some ways. I mean, as far as the operational there, some of you're looking out over all of them and have that perspective that you're not just working on one group, you have an umbrella responsibility. So I raised with Britt that as this goes forward, it may be that part of what you morph into some of those responsibilities to look at this more global perspective for everybody and share best practices, because again, part of this is people are going to be autonomous on how they do it, but sharing what works is part of what we end up doing, especially if they're struggling with how do you get a bunch of strangers to start working together, and you say, look, we've got a methodology that we recommend because we're using it, right? But somebody else, again, may have something different that they want to go use. It's part of it's a strength, but yet sometimes it's the messy part of how we work in groups when there's not a structure and no one's in charge.
Yeah, no, and Mike, I think, we started to realize that when we figured out, okay, we really do need to combine the groups to have the full process, because the conversations really started to be, our group is really a service group for everybody else to help them, hit these goals and do these items and move everything forward. So I think we're, the group kind of rallied around that and was great with that. Does everybody in the group agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So outside of the composting, like 28 and number 19, was there one that everybody thought might be a good, easy, quicker hit for celebration and completion?
Could you say again the groups that I know we identified 28, which is the Tampa Convention Food Rescue Program. What was the other one you said?
Well, 19, which was that group that everything came out of. It was the convention center and the recycling.
Okay, so 19 and 28 are part of the same group?
It's the same group. So here's what.
So 19 is the number that they use at the convention center. When I listed them out, I was just showing you that that's how many groups there really are. Because if you look in ComNexus, it's 12A, 12B, 12C, 12D, 12E to be a total of 30, which now is a total of 29 because two of the groups already merged, 17 and 18. But that's, I think I created more confusion by doing that, because in ComNexus, they have the actual numbers that they used at the summit, and they took like group 12 is 6 working groups now.
Okay.
Because they broke it out. I think they did 12.1, 12.2, 12.3. So that's 19 and 28 are exactly the same, and I can level that out so we don't have that confusion.
Yeah, I was gonna request that, so that way we could all be on the same page. Because the titles don't necessarily, I can see these, but I'd have to go back to ComNexus. So
one observation there that I'm kind of doing what you all are doing, talking to lots of people and kind of figuring out where we have gaps. I think it'd be very useful if you considered doing a 1-sentence description of every one of these projects that goes below it, and actually beef up the name. When you tell somebody it's the C&C, one of these here. There's a couple of them that are just, that unless you were in the group, you don't know what it is.
Exactly.
And just to be able to talk about maybe a 1 or 2 sentence summary that can go under the name of that work group. And then below that, you can have the design question. You can have the aspiration statement. But again, it's kind of like standardizing. I've been in these before when you get these groups and the naming gets very different because they're very unique on how they come about. But you guys could almost, as you talked about being a standardizing view, that if you've got to be able to just to describe it in a way that outsiders coming to it will know kind of at first blush what it's about, so where their interest might be.
I think that's what Britt was talking about at the very beginning, that we needed to, hold on, let me go back and read it. Taking the aspiration statements and doing 2 to 3 ideas for a quick hit that will give us part or most of the idea of that group. Is that correct, Britt? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes and no. Yes, we need to get those actual groups identified. What Mike is talking about is kind of that summary of each group that's a bit more descriptive and maybe a little more powerful. And if we take the groups and break the groups up, where each of us in this group have a few of them, read what they had, take a look at what they've named everything, and take a good strong look at that and come up with a better descriptor now that we have a little more time and space from the meeting. I think that would be a good win for the next call, along with having, and I know that the website and get involved tag might not certainly be done by the next call, but being able to put all of those pieces together, because we want what they see to draw them in and not be convoluted, and then we want the process for them to get signed up to be as easy as possible. Because the moment more clicks and there's more ambiguity and things of that nature, people say, you know what, I'm not going to keep going through the process. So I think if we are able to help make those things concise, very descriptive, but descriptive to a broad audience, that those would be 2 items that would be, some great wins for this team to work with and get down for the other groups.
Britt,
go ahead, Mike.
Is a great way to engage them too, is to say you're charged with kind of standardizing the language to communicate and broadcast the work, and that you're charged with writing a description and send it back to each group, asking them for feedback on your description, because you're going to engage them just by doing that. Someone's going to have to go back and you're going to have a sense for who on that group's going to be able to be taking charge. You start building those contacts, because again, back to this is, we don't want to rename or describe their group for them without them having some say in it. But again, I think we all kind of agree that looking at all these things, it's difficult for people that were there to sort some of this out, much less someone who were trying to get involved in the group as a brand new person.
So could I make a proposal that Sherry, if you could redo the list, and then I will put an email together that has that list where they can, go and check out the ComNexus site of the groups. And then basically, Britt, put together your thoughts, what we want to find out from each group, and then have people say, okay, I'll take these groups, and we can, communicate via that email.
Yeah, so I would throw this out to Dima and to Sanj. Do you think that we should have each member of our team try and pick, or should, because there might be one of the groups that they feel stronger about, or should we literally take what the number is once Sherry has them kind of recondensed, and, we just randomly assign 3 or 4 to each member of our team to work on?
Well, if there's a way to have them self-select, I think that'd be the best way. So I don't know how to reconcile the 2 options with that.
Dima?
I think you should just divide up the list.
Yeah, okay. I think the reason why I would agree more with just dividing up the list is, if everybody kind of migrates to 4 or 5 by the time the group is done, there are going to be some that aren't going to get the attention that they need. With that being said, though, once Kim and I send that list out and you get it and you're like, man, I really wanted this one, send it to us beforehand, and we'll make sure that one or two that you might feel very strongly about are on your list. But yeah, I think the biggest part of the process right now is just getting that step going and moving forward.
And Bill Casal actually came in the middle of our call, and so he actually talked on the radio station, so he kind of put the groups together just to talk about it. So he wanted to know if he could talk really quick, so I told him he could. So here he is.
Absolutely.
Hey guys.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, so I was on the, I can't remember the name of the show.
WMNF,
Yeah, it was
Walter Smith.
yeah, Walter
Urban Cafe.
Urban Cafe. So, and what they want to do is talk about what happened at the summit. And so in order to kind of get it kind of condensed down so I could talk about the areas that were touched on, I really came up with 7 kind of areas that were touched on. Resource identification and engagement, which is kind of that trisector, identifying resources and putting people in touch, cross sectors. The culture coming together, and there were 7 groups that were focused around resource identification and engagement. There were 3 focused around bringing the culture together. There were 5 centered around economic development. There were 5 around education. There were 5 around the environment. There were 2 around planning, future planning, and there were 2 around wellness. So what I would suggest, if you're going to break it up, maybe you want to break it up in sectors, and then when you start to see the progress that some of them are making, there's a lot of crossover. If you go through and read the aspiration statements and you look at the different steps that are going on in the projects, there's a lot of touch points and a lot of crossover. And so what I told Sherry was, I think it's been, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Let the groups get some momentum. Let them go ahead and start to plan, see where they go, and then start putting those kind of groups together and talk to them about, what do you need? Have you lost some momentum? Did you know this group was like very similar to you? That kind of thing. Because I think there's going to be some crossover. And I think also there's going to be some spin-offs out of these groups. There's going to be some smaller projects.
Do you have a written, what you have, like the title and then the groups underneath? Right. Are you going to be at the Cristo Rey tonight?
No, I am not. I have another.
I can type it up.
Another function. But what I did was I took them all. I created the groups and then I identified them each to a group. And then behind it, I just have all the aspiration statements, so I kind of know what each one of them are beyond their name, right? So, for example, I've been working with the girls on the resource one for the convention center, and I've been working on the education one, and we already have a beta going with that. So, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on. So this way,
so if it's possible, if it's possible, hold on. If it's possible, if I could get that information, then Britt, what I could do is forward it to you, and then you could break it up by people.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if Sherry or you could get that to me.
I can.
Okay. And then once I got that, then I'll just sort of put it to what Britt was talking about, add the questions that Britt was wanting to get information on, and then I'll forward it to him, and then we can add names. We can divide it up and go from there.
Right. So what I have from what we've gone through is, what we talked about originally with the get involved tag and the follow up with that, for each member to be able to write and have an impact on, a 1 to 2 sentence group description for the groups that you get assigned. Then for each member to reach out to the groups for an update. And then based on everything that we've talked about today and kind of hearing Mike and Sherry's message about what we want to do to move forward for the next meeting, if each person can have your 3 goals that you would like to have as a impact over the next 90 days, what your personal goals will be, then I think we are going to be well on our way. And to kind of circle back on the 3 groups, that right now, group 28 is probably the one. And my thought, and let me know what you think, instead of focusing on 2 or 3, is focusing on the convention center group as kind of our test group to get our process down. So we're not trying to get a process down with 3 different, beta test groups.
I agree completely, especially because the other groups still need time to develop. This one seems like the fastest one.
Okay.
Well, just for everybody's kind of the thinking on that one is that there's an intention after we have, and Sherry's working on a report post-summit about what happened, kind of a more generic reporting, is that the intention is to go back and see the mayor. And whatever background we have is, I think to ask us directly to the mayor to say, Mayor, you could do this one. You want a quick hit? We want a quick hit. Sign an executive order ordering them to do recycling. And that to me is, I think it may be 30 days out, but it's one of the action steps that I think the groups can put together, kind of some background on what they're doing. But I think that's where the work ends up going and is a quick hit for everybody. So I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but that's just kind of what my thinking has been around that topic. Listen, I created that topic when I was cleaning up on Monday night saying, damn it, they don't recycle. That's where it is. And the mayor was just here, so she needs to know about it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And, selfishly for our group and for Connect and Propel, if we get a win before the end of the year, what a great way to have some momentum coming in.
Yeah.
And if we don't get it by the end of the year, but we get it in the beginning of the year, again, great momentum to have, for 2020. So I think that if we can, in the short term, focus our efforts on this. So let's, when we're thinking about our goals, that we want to do personally, let's think about, having one that goes towards this, and then the others kind of going towards our process and our mission as a group moving forward. So I will get all of that typed up and in this form and out to everybody, so that we will have that. So with that being said, and seeing that we're, a few minutes out, right now we don't have any messages that we need to get out to the community, but moving forward we will have cascading messages. But the cascading messages that I do see that we have, one would be asking the groups for an update on if they have met, and if so, kind of what has come out of that. And that's the only one that I have right now, unless somebody else has something they've thought of while we're talking. All right. And last but not least,
computer on mute. I don't know. There's a lot of background noise.
Yeah.
Is it coming from me?
I don't know.
Hold on. Let me see if I can.
That was not coming from me.
All right.
Did you mute me? Did you mute me, Britt?
I can hear you.
I think it's coming from Kim because I don't hear it anymore.
I started meeting people just to see if I could find it.
We are down to the very last section where we do the self rating. So I will start backwards this time. Mike, rate the meeting from 1 to 10 on effectiveness today.
Oh, I think you got a lot of it done. I would give you a 10. I mean, for first out of the box and organization and kind of seeing where you guys can have impact, I think you all did a great job.
Sherry?
I'm going to stay with that because I think that this is going to be really, really helpful for us getting things moved forward.
Dima?
Definitely, Britt, I love the way that you have this agenda. It's really helpful. So yeah, I'll say 10.
Sanj?
I think it's a 10. I think I'm gonna have Jeff learn how to run a meeting like you do.
Well, yeah, this works great. Allison, I'm not sure if you're still on. Kim?
Unmute, Kim, unmute.
Kim, you're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, my husband left the door open in the office. I would say a 10. Yes, this helped me understand and action, gave us an action. So yes, 10.
Joe?
I came in later. Sorry about that, but I agree with everyone. I mean, being a first-time meeting, it is difficult to get things going, and it looks like everything was pretty well organized for a first meeting. I agree. So I'm up there also with a 10.
Great. And I will be the Debbie Downer with a 9, because I know as we work through these and everybody will see now that this gets populated moving forward, how easy it goes. But for this meeting not being populated, I thought everybody did very well. So thank you all very much. Any last questions or comments?
Yeah,
I have one. Go ahead.
Sharon?
Mine is going to be that, so the next meeting will be on the 6th, but do you want a meeting on December 20th? Because that would be that following Friday, or after the 6th, do you want me to roll into January?
Let's have it on there, and I think that we'll get a pulse. You know, we'll get that reading a little closer to that one. Very well might have to go into January, but let's just get the biweekly set up with kind of no end when we set it up, and then if we need to adjust during that week, we will.
Because then the next one would be the 3rd, but I could push it out to January 10th and then go biweekly after the 10th. Or I can just let it go the 3rd, the 17th, and the 31st. I just don't know what people's schedules are going to be like. I know Dina's going to have 4 children at home.
Yeah. Kim, can you send out a email to everybody just asking their availability on the 20th and the 3rd, and if it's not good, then we'll adjust to the 10th. Sherry, and we'll use that as our date moving forward for the biweekly.
Okay, so just want to see availability for the 20th and the 3rd, and if we get feed not good, then we might want to move January 10th. Is that correct?
Yep. And then that will, Sherry, be our date for biweekly moving forward. Great. And Joe, I think you said you had something?
Yeah, no, I just want to know, can someone send me information on how to get hooked up with the ConNexus? If you could just send me that, because I lost that paperwork when I was at the convention. And also, someone said something. What's Crystal Ray? Someone says Crystal Ray tonight. What's that?
So Cristo Rey has a gathering where you get to meet the students, you get to hear about the school and the people that are supported behind it. They give kind of an update. It's a meet and greet at Palmacia. If you're not familiar with Cristo Rey, I would highly recommend you go, and it's you're invited. So it's from 6 to 8, I believe, at the Palmacia Country Club.
Country Club. Okay.
Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
And someone will send me the information about the ConNexus. Email me.
I'll do that.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
What's SOP?
Standard operating procedure.
Oh my gosh.
Rick's a government contractor.
Yeah, well, in all of our pharmaceutical companies, everything is an SOP with the FDA as well.
Oh,
so
okay.
I
Thanks.
live in the world of SOPs. Sorry. Well, I apologize that by my clock it's 11:33, so we're 3 minutes over. But I can promise you we'll get that down to just the 60 minutes right on the spot. So unless anybody has anything else, thank you.
Yeah, the meeting's a 9. The meeting's a 9 now.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry.